Today we will present how media has aided in the success of nonviolent protests and what an important role it has played in our society. Many different tactics were used to protest segregation laws such as freedom rides, Woolworth Sit-In, Montgomery Bus Boycott, Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, and Little Rock 9. Through these events, we will see the effect of how media has changed the thought of the nation. Media has been a very useful tool in aiding civil rights movements across America. One passenger was knocked down at my feet by 12 of the hoodlums, and his face was beaten and kicked until it was a bloody pulp, cited Smith, an investigator of the segregation laws. This phrase describes the scene that many viewed when the media decided to cover the freedom rides. The Freedom Riders was a form of nonviolent protest where a group of African American gentlemen boarded public segregated buses. The Freedom Ride's ultimate goal was to achieve the desegregation of buses so African Americans could be treated equally and fair on travels. The Freedom Rides rode from Washington, D.C. to Charlotte, North Carolina, and from there to Atlanta, Georgia, and from there their journey went to Alabama, where they traveled throughout the state. There were frequent arrests, beatings, and interrogations along their travel through the Deep South. The activists' most terrifying encounter was in Anniston, Alabama, where a bus was set on fire, which made headlines, as well as the Ku Klux Klan raid on a bus in Birmingham, Alabama, where Freedom Riders were severely beaten and photographer Tommy Langston and his crew's film gear was destroyed. These articles are found in newspapers across the nation and changed the public's mindset, and the beaten activists knew they had accomplished their goal.
Peaceful protests grew during the Civil Rights Movement. Sit-ins, boycotts, and other nonviolent protests became common. One clear and prominent sit-in was the Woolworth's lunch counter sit-in. Woolworth's was a retail store that also had a small diner in it with a lunch counter. On February 1st, 1960, things changed for Woolworth's in Greensboro, North Carolina. 4 college students from the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical College, Izell Blair Jr., David Richmond, Franklin McCain, and Joseph McNeil walked into the diner and asked for service. They were declined service and asked to leave, but the 4 college students remained seated. They did not cause a large scene. Instead, they sat quietly at the lunch counter. Law enforcement was called in to remove them, but due to their peaceful manners and non-aggressive actions, law enforcement could not force them to leave. Soon local media was notified and were arriving at the scene of the nonviolent protest. All the local news stations broadcast about the movement. The college students remained peacefully seated at the lunch counter until the restaurant closed. Broadcasting the scenario brought awareness to the community and showed what a difference could be made. Their stand against segregation started a movement among the youth, who decided to stand up and make a difference too. All the youth decided to make their own sit-ins and other protests. The media played a large role in the grand scheme of things. The more protests and sit-ins that were shown, the more people got involved. The media helped grow the movement and cause a change in the world around them. After some time, lunch counters were packed with protesters. The media put the sit-ins on the front page of newspapers and as top stories on the news. The attention that the media brought to these events caused a stir in the communities and a need for change. They encouraged citizens to act and get involved in the media, but to do so peacefully.
In 1955, Rosa Parks was asked to give up her seat for a white passenger. She refused to move, even though others did. She knew she was in the half of the bus that was segregated for black people. She was quickly arrested and then set free on bail. This whole spectacle enraged women and civil rights groups alike. Some civil rights groups, however, were waiting for an opportunity like this to help overturn some unfair legislation. Women immediately started making flyers to announce the bus boycott the following day. At first, newspapers deemed this protest insignificant. However, as it was continuously extended, newspapers started reporting it. People depended on the newspapers to help keep them informed and help them form their opinions. Eventually, Dr. Martin Luther King was designated to try to negotiate with bus companies to bring an end to the protests. However, the bus companies refused his terms. As the protests continued, some white people started reacting violently. Employers started to threaten any employee caught protesting with termination. There were even arrests made for protesters interfering with business by simply being there. In a little over a year, the protesters' efforts were rewarded. The segregation law was ruled unconstitutional in 1956. Without newspapers exposing the injustice and keeping people interested and informed, this movement may have taken much longer to produce results.
Martin Luther King Jr. and the media. USA Today explains Martin Luther King Jr.'s use of words from a then recent John F. Kennedy speech in which he stated, 50 years ago, the Emancipation Proclamation came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of the slave's captivity. Martin Luther King Jr., probably the most famous and well-known civil rights activist and leaders, was asked to give a speech at the end of a civil rights event called the March on Washington. King orated to a crowd of more than 200,000 in front of the Lincoln Memorial. Through the extensive involvement of large news networks, Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech left a lasting impact on the lives of many who may not have previously known about the civil rights movement. Let's get started. Millions watched as 3 major news networks focused in on the speech. Perhaps this is because many, especially in Washington, thought the event was going to get out of hand and turn violent. However, this proved not to be the case. In fact, the speech, as Rick Hampson says, that because of the way King delivered the speech on live television, it left a bigger impact. Similarly, Hampson, from the Alternate organization, stated that it was a speech more commonly heard from a Baptist pulpit than on national TV. Another author describes the event in which one individual president stated, "Those people don't know it, but they're about to go to church." The reaction after the speech was given is that the news networks began to realize that there was a public interest in the speech. In fact, Ron Simney from the Paley Center pointed out that NBC emptied the first 45 minutes of The Tonight Show for the edited rundown of the speech. It goes on to show how the message was starting to be heard not only by the protesters themselves, but the American people who may not have been acknowledged about the movement in the beginning. Furthermore, the message in the news was hopeful regarding the civil rights activists and saw front page stories such as I Have a Dream, published by the New York Times. Other agencies that replayed the message that day, who had not in previous demonstrations, included CBS, The Virginian, and ABC's Wagon Train. The results. Additionally, because of the live coverage, white Americans got their first exposure to not only who Martin Luther King Jr. was, but what he represented. You could say that the speech was the first true sound-off for the civil rights movement. It sealed what the whole mission and purpose was. In the end, extensive news coverage of Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech helped significantly impact the civil rights movement in a way that is still felt today.
Little Rock 9 was a group of African American students that were placed in Little Rock Central High School to desegregate the school after Brown versus Board of Education was passed. Because of this, the Little Rock crisis followed. The students were prevented from going to the school by the governor of Arkansas. He wanted to keep the school all white. The students, however, were determined to have the same quality education, but it wouldn't go down without a fight. A nonviolent fight, that is. On the kids' way to school each day, they faced many challenges. White mobs, angry at the children, cursed at them, threw things at them, and spit while they walked by. The kids were patient and never fought back, however. The angry whites had beaten several reporters and threw bricks into the school windows. The president sent Airborne Division paratroopers and put Arkansas National Guard under federal command to help keep the kids safe. Dr. Martin Luther King urged people to stay nonviolent. He said nonviolence is the only way to have a lasting solution to the problem. You must meet physical force with soul force, MLK said. This was published in the Atlanta Daily World on the 26th of September, 1957. There were several different print articles written that allowed people to see what was going on and to give them insights and to help stay updated, which was a key role in having the success of the kids be able to go to school. In conclusion, throughout this speech, we have discussed how important media is to society for gaining knowledge and being able to peacefully make a change in the world. Nonviolent protests are vital in having a productive, happy society while still feeling like you are supporting what you believe in. In the future, we all believe media will continue to aid profoundly in how people view and participate in society. Thank you.